Many of you requested when you saw the 7 gamers 1 CPU machine, which you can check out here by the way, that we do an LTT edition build log. Not necessarily because that one wasn't black and orange enough, but because thanks to its cost, it wasn't really attainable for, well, any but the richest oil princes. So today we are going to be bringing it back down to earth somewhat with, other than the Linus Tech Hits Edition Noctua fans, every other part of this, the first LTT edition build being an off-the-shelf, normal component. So it begins, as always, with the motherboard. Unfortunately, within ASUS's lineup, unless you're willing to paint their ROG Series X99 board, there's not much choice for a premium option in anything other than white or red. So I decided to go with their WS, which is all black. I've been partial to the WS line for quite some time. I like the no frills feature set, excellent compatibility with exotic add-in cards, and rock-solid construction. Not to mention ECC compatibility if you're into the whole Xeon thing. For the CPU, speaking of which, I went with a Core i7 5930K 6-core. The only reason for this is that with an X99 motherboard, the 5820K provides 28 versus 40 PCI Express lanes, so it can limit future expansion. But if you don't see yourself adding a bunch of specialized PCIe cards to your computer, the 6-core 5820K is a fantastic choice. To go along with my 6-core CPU, I've got 4 DIMMs of quad-channel DDR4 memory, and it's not an LTT edition build without Corsair Dominators. With the only problem being, again, that while Dominators are actually available in orange, the orange really doesn't match what I'm trying to do here, and it only comes on this weird special edition low-capacity, high-speed SKU. I wanted 32 gigs of RAM with the ability to move to 64 gigs in the future, so I ended up painting the top bars of a regular kit of Dominators myself. It's actually really easy to do and takes about an hour of total time if you've got a convenient place to spray paint. The heatsink may actually seem like an odd choice to many of you. A single tower heatsink with a push-pull fan configuration, Linus? Really? But the rationale is actually pretty straightforward. I opted for a single tower over a dual tower for better compatibility with tall RAM coolers, and over an AIO liquid cooler because rather than adding points of failure, water cools, remember, are rendered useless if either the pump or the fan fails. A tower cooler improves reliability because with 2 fans on it, it can operate at near peak efficiency even if one of them fails, thanks to Noctua's use of a static pressure optimized fan design. Which isn't to say that I left the original fan on. The black and orange is a special LTT edition of the NFF12 that's only available while quantities last at the pricing and discussion link in the video description. For the case, I wanted something off the shelf, but something that I also really like, and the H440 continues to stand out as a well-built, well-thought-out case, and they happened to have an orange-accented version right around the time that I was evaluating my options for this build. Be Quiet's Silent Base 800 was also a top candidate, but I did a silence-optimized build in it over a year ago, and I wanted something a little different. For the power supply, I had actually originally intended to use something much more sensible, a Corsair RM850X, so still high quality, but not to the point where I'm paying a huge premium for 80+ titanium efficiency or enough wattage to run literally 3 of these systems under load. Unfortunately, I misplaced my orange and black kit of Corsair compatible cable mod cables and was only able to find my EVGA ones. And I gotta have my black and orange cables, man. I mean, no LTT edition build would be complete without them. So the EVGA T1600 makes a return from 7 gamers 1 CPU. For the case fan, I mean, do I even need to say it? The obvious choice for an LTT build is blue LED Yate Loons from NCIX I went, of course, for the exclusive LTT orange version of Noctua's NF series. So I popped 3 of them in the front, choosing to go logo side up and deal with the cable management later on. And in the rear, I used an LTT edition NF A14. Honestly, I could have gotten away with just the one in the back since the front fans will be hidden by the 3.5-inch bays anyway, but it just didn't feel right. I went for the 100% complete versus just getting to the ending cinematic. At this point, it was time to mount the motherboard, and I found a small flaw in my plan. I had to pull the rubber grommets out of the case to avoid flexing the slightly wider than standard ATX board. Then I used some fan cable extensions and splitters to reach the fan headers on the motherboard rather than the hub on the back of the Novo tray. IMO, it's worth it so that I can set up a custom fan curve that responds to system temperature changes in the BIOS versus relying on a manual switch. Then I ran all the wiring for the motherboard, drive, video card, and fans with the intention of hiding as much of it as possible. The H440 lends itself very well to the clean look with its hidden power supply basement thing. The second to last component was the SSD, and I regretted my decision here. I mean, sure, the HyperX Savage is a fine SSD, and 960 gigs is lots of capacity, no issues there, but I regretted not finding a better way to paint this one. To go back and do it again, I think I'd want to mask off a pattern on the top or something, but still, once it was mounted, it ended up looking okay. For the final stage, I waffled for a while about whether to mount the video card in the top slot, the traditional way, or to move it down a little bit for better feng shui or whatever. And I ended up putting it a couple slots down. It looks so much better there and doesn't impact performance anyhow. So we're done. What is, until Linus Tech Tips releases its own motherboard, case, video card, RAM, SSD, power supply, and cables. Actually, as close as you can get to a fully LTT edition build. Thank you guys for coming along with the ride, and thank you for joining me now for the moment of truth. Oh yes. Oh yeah, a last minute addition that we added, cable mod RGB LED strips with magnetic mounting, which by the way, makes a whole lot more sense to me than the sticky tape mounting that most of them use. So thanks again for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. But if you didn't like it, then you can dislike it. But if you did like it, then you can get subscribed. You can watch our other videos on our other channels. You can support us by buying a cool shirt like this one, giving us a monthly contribution through our forum, or just changing your Amazon bookmark with our affiliate code. Instructions are up there. Now that you're done doing all that stuff, you're probably thinking to yourself, gee, I wonder if Channel Superfun has released any new videos lately, to which I would answer yes. Yes, it has. And you can go check that out too.